Calling all around the world. Mumbo jumbo, stir up the gumbo. Calling all around the world. Get it. Start with a roux, that's me and you. Add the Holy Trinity. That's rhythm, chords, and melody. Come on now, add your spice. Tell your story, very nice. Calling all around the world. Stir that vocal gumbo now. Calling all stir it up, stir it up. Get it.
Janice!
Lauren!
Where are you?
I'm in the kitchen.
I'm in the bedroom.
Well, we should explain maybe why we're wearing masks. Go ahead, Lauren.
People,
Shoot.
first of all, welcome to Vocal Gumbo Meet the Artists. And we're so happy to be kicking off 2021 in high fashion. We spared no expense on the wardrobing tonight.
Well, I do have my new Prince sweatshirt, a gift from Trist Curlis. As you can see, this beautiful lining is like from the graphic on When Doves Fly. That it's got the Prince symbol.
Oh, see, look at you.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, but yes, go on.
Well, so funny thing that happened on the way to the gig tonight. I drove into the city because I had some odds and ends to do in the city, and then I was going to race back to my house for tonight's show. And I got up this morning and I had a walk, and I went and I got some New York bagels, and I got a nice coffee, and I had a nice walkabout in my city. And we were packing up the house and packing up the car and get ready to leave the city. And my battery on my car died. So change of plans. We were not going to make it after the jump and all of that. So I drove myself down to the village to my girlfriend's apartment, and I'm in Gabe's, her son's bedroom, and she's in the living room. So hi Janice, can you hear me?
I can. I'm in the kitchen.
Okay.
Do you want some meatloaf?
I do. Right after the show, I'm going to have some of Janice's meatloaf that she, of course, taunts us with all of her conquests of cooking. But the other good thing about coming over to Janice's house is not only does she always have something good to feed you, but she has something good to put in a glass. So I'm lucky because I'm going to get to drink this beautiful Argentinian Malbec. Oops, there you go. And there it is. So I'm grateful. And there's a 7 here on the label, lucky number 7. So I guess that's kicking in now.
Yeah. Well, I want full tasting notes when you're finished with that bottle.
So this is what I'm going to be having just to balance out the craziness of my day. What are you having?
I'm having some Italian white, Vermentino.
Wonderful. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Yes. So far, I mean, I'm feeling a little lighter now. I think most people are. There's a layer of stress that's sort of washed away. Not everything, of course.
But still, doesn't it feel thrilling that we've welcomed Biden and Harris in, and there seems to be a government that's sharing information with us in a really transparent way, and things are happening and much work needs to be done, but it sure feels like we've turned the corner. And so I'm very grateful. So welcome to our new administration, and hopefully lots of good progress can be made over these next 4 years.
Also, yes, very grateful to President Biden and Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. This is a special weekend for Vocal Gumbo. This is the kickoff to a weekend of Gumbo Smackdown.
You know it, girl.
Where we have 3 different shows on 3 different days. Some of our favorite collaborations of 2020 and some standalone performances. Look at that lineup. Holy mackerel.
It's kind of an embarrassment of riches. And I think that's how we feel about what happened with Vocal Gumbo, is what felt like a little idea back in March with the first show being in May, we started to, just reach out to all of our colleagues that we love and admire. And, sort of 10 shows later, we have just an enormous amount of music in our library. And we just feel like we want to share it again in a different way and say and express our gratitude to all the artists that really jumped in. Some of them really not even knowing what was going to happen. And oftentimes we didn't know what was going to happen, how the music would evolve. But somehow each collaboration had its own special energy and beauty and trust and connection. And so we're just so grateful. And so it just seemed like January should be a reflective month and a way for us to launch into 2021 with already we'll talk about later the great shows we have in mind for you. So
we really had enough for 4 different shows, and we unfortunately we couldn't include everybody, but we did put together 3 very special shows. Yeah, and we will talk about it later. But we've managed to corral 6 really of the artists that are going to be featured this weekend.
Yes. It's so great to check in with our artists in our community, which is what I think one of the reasons why we started this in the first place, because we don't have venues and bars and clubs and streets and subways for us to be airports, for us to be connecting with each other and finding out what we're doing. And so this is kind of a way to not only check in with our friends and thank them for being a part of this, but also let you know that life is still moving on, and we are everybody's continuing to figure out ways to move forward. So we threw the invitation out to some amazing people. So Janice, do you think we should just jump right in?
I think we should let them in the room, and I'm just going to transfer my my wine into my Vocal Gumbo mug.
Oh, okay. You're getting a little show-offy. I know.
Look at that mug.
Yes, that thanks to Catherine McKeever at Tag Your It, who's been really great about creating product for us and that mask. So let's invite Catherine Russell, Kenny Washington, Jane Monheit, Laila Biali, and Ben Wittman, and Michael Mayo. Do you think that's enough of a bountiful table?
No, it's not enough.
What?
What do you want? What do you want, people?
That's like Thanksgiving on steroids. It's imagine if all these people showed up for like a dinner, and you'd be like, "Oh, come in! No, come in! Oh my God, this is amazing! Welcome everybody! Happy New Year! Happy 2021!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Yeah.
Happy New Year!
Yes.
Happy New Year! Cheers to that!
We made it!
We made it! Oh my gosh!
We made it. It does feel like some progress has been made in beautiful ways. We want to thank you for being a part of the show. And we thought, having you all here, we invite you all to sort of chime in, but I thought we'd jump right into perhaps talking to Catherine and how, when we approached you for this, to do this collaborative idea, we were still kind of trying to figure it out, but we found a beautiful song that you did historically, Wrap Your Troubles in Dreams. And it was just such a blast getting to sing with you.
I was kind of panicking because I thought, oh no, I got to do this at home with people. And so, and because I have so much respect for both of you. And so, but what you did with it, what you did with singing with me and everything, it's fantastic. I said, oh, okay, and I had never done the song slow like that. I hadn't done it at that tempo before. I'm always, doing stuff fast like this. And so Janice said, well, but wait, you said, well, listen to this. You listen to this version and see how you like it. And I said, oh, okay, that's sexy. Good. Let's try it. I learned something,
What I loved about it is that I don't know if you had done a collaboration like this before and you just did it on your iPhone.
Yeah.
And we said, oh, okay, we'll work with this. We'll work with that.
Yeah, I've since, gotten a studio good microphone in a cage and all of this type of thing. But, so I'm just learning how to do all of that. But yeah, I just said, well, this is how it's going to be. But, thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Well, I think we all have been learning again how to re-outfit our homes. And I know people like Michael Mayo and Laila and Ben over there, have some pretty serious home studio setups. And but for many of us, I didn't have my home studio set up. Like as of March, I was like still had microphones in a box, and was like, I guess I should finally open up this microphone and figure out how to plug it into the GarageBand device, doohickey. And now I'm like, let's go, people. Symphony in my living room, let's do it.
Yeah.
But we're so grateful. And you swung that tempo. You swung so hard, girl.
Thank you.
We kept screaming at the screen. Janice, every time we heard it, you were like, listen to how hard she swings.
Yeah, and Lauren, we changed the name of the tune to Rap That Cat. Because we loved it so much, yeah.
The series has been so wonderful, and I've watched many of the shows, so it's incredible. And all of you here, and it's just incredible how you brought everybody together and you continue to keep the community together. So it's just amazing the artists that I've learned about. I know everyone here, but there are artists, so many artists that I've learned about from your series. So I really appreciate that.
Now that's super fun. Now, Mr. Kenny Washington,
Yes.
What the heck is going on with that beautiful voice of yours? Oh my God.
Well, I'm not singing much, as with everybody else, but I'm trying to keep it warmed up and much just
but you've got some new record coming out, or that record that came out.
That was a strange year for a release, but
I know.
Miraculously it happened. That it wasn't planned that way, but there was a slight delay for 2 years or so,
right?
And it just happened to land on the wrong year to be released, but it was kind of right on time.
It was a real joyful record though, and the other thing is I'm all for release it again later. Like, come on now.
Release it again. Yeah.
I mean, if this wasn't good, how about, it's like
a second release. Yeah, that's actually been mentioned. Yeah. So you never know. That could happen.
But
it's happened before. So
well, we're just gonna have to get you to do another collaboration for
I would love to. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's all. So we get you singing, because Verrazano Moon was so special for us.
That was so much fun to have you guys on there. My goodness.
My God. And to hear the story of how Joe Locke wrote the tune.
Yeah.
Was very interesting.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Incredibly powerful and personal. Yeah.
And you know what, for me, about listening to you do that piece, it was also Andy Ezrin did the accompaniment, and he did all those gorgeous extensions that kind of planed up and down.
I loved it. Yeah,
it was so deep.
Yeah,
but you know what I loved, because I edited the video, so I looked at you like a lot more than I normally would look at you. I just looked at you a lot. So I started to see like how little gestures from you when you were like when you would go, damn, Andy, like I could feel your face, or you had this little hop that you would do, and I'm like, there he goes again. But you have such restraint and musicianship. It was you never oversing. You just give just the right stuff.
Oh, thank you.
It just killed me.
You guys having that background vocal was the first time, because I did it so many years with Joe as a single voice, but just having you guys on there was just
tell us
amazing.
about that. Tell us about singing with Joe.
Well, he's his personality is very energetic. He's an upbeat kind of guy.
Yeah.
As a person and as a musician. So you really have to struggle to keep up with him on stage. But he's a very emotional kind of guy, carries his heart on his shoulder, as people say.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience, and I worked with him a lot, over the years. Yeah, something I never thought would happen, and before then I never really heard of him before, until I met him when he came to one of my gigs.
He's a heavy cat, and
He's
when he
an
solo,
incredibly heavy cat.
Solo, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just gonna try and take it in.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much going on in his mind at all times musically.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to get it all out as fast as he can.
So he approached you.
He did, yeah. There was an after party at a gig that I did with a friend of mine, and the band leader knew of him, so he introduced me at the after party. He said, "Yeah, it's just Joe." Like at first, he was, how he dresses. He looks more like a rock star than a jazz artist.
Totally.
The way he dresses. So I'm thinking, what famous rock band is this guy with? And then my friend said, "No, he's a vibraphone player." What vibraphone player? There's no vibes in rock and roll. What are you talking about? No, this guy's been around a long time, man. Yeah. But anyway, long story short, he invited me to do a recording with him a few months later, and then after that, he invited me to do Dizzy's with him the first time, and we did it for 1 week runs for about 9 years.
That's the stuff.
Yeah. So that was my first big, brush with greatness in a musician, was working with that guy.
Well, you deserve all that and some. And so, I can't wait to see what's coming up next for you. And then I want to jump over to Ms. Laila and Ben, because you guys may have been in like on the second or third, maybe the third show, I think, by the time. So we were still like, I don't know. We think we know what we're doing, but mostly we're just freaking faking it. We're like, okay, let's just do this. And you threw out Book of Love, which is a really great, really prophetic folk song.
It's from Stephen Merritt.
Yeah, from the Magnetic Fields, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have your own twist to it, though.
I do, yeah. I do this thing called the Request-O-Matic, and it's just a fun game that I play with fans at live shows, and I love to arrange other people's music, and so I started asking audience members what tunes they wanted to hear, and that song was requested by somebody in Hamilton, Ontario, and so I cooked up a little arrangement, and I usually don't have a lot of time to get them done because I might sometimes get as many as 3 for one show, so I have to arrange quickly, and that's what I came up with, and it's one that, we released as a single a couple years ago for Valentine's Day, but we don't do it a lot. And it was so special what you and Janis added. Like not only harmonically, but visually. I mean, you both turned into video editors. I don't know how you do it. But
I don't know either. I don't know how we do it either. But the thing is so Ben and I go way back because he was on my very first debut record that Phil Ramone produced, and then we did a record together in 2010 called Avalon. He's played with the New York Voices. He's produced so many of my friends. So I know Ben for so many years. He's a drummer, but he's a producer. He's a mixing engineer, but he's a great dad. He's a blah, and then he married like the most amazing musician as well. So it was so fun to connect with you, Ben, and nothing ever changes. You still just blow me away with all of what you hear, and we were lucky to get you to mix it.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It was such
Strategy.
I was getting verklempt so often working with you guys. It was such an positive emotional experience. You know, we were sort of still all reeling from being in lockdown and finding our way in the dark, you know, just like what the heck is going on now.
Right.
But I thought you guys, I mean, even those early episodes, you guys were so masterful and made it seem so easy and comfortable. It was just a blast, you know?
The thing I remember, one of the many things I remember about that video is that I took a video of my son holding my wedding ring. And it turns out he got married, actually, a couple of months later. In September, he got married. So.
Wow, congratulations.
That's an amazing sequence of events. Yeah.
I know. And you guys have been so busy. You too have a record out, and you have a radio show that you produce up in Toronto.
Yeah.
And you've been just also morphing and pivoting and trying to go, okay, what am I going to do? So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about how you've been reinventing your presence in the world.
For sure. Well, firstly, I want to say that this is such a treat for me because I'm a fan of every single person on this screen.
Me too.
And all of you have been played on my show. So I host a show with the least creative thing ever. It's called Saturday Night Jazz. It's on CBC, which is like the NPR of Canada. And every one of you has been on that show. And Michael, I want your new single, which I know you're going to tell us about later. But, and speaking of Michael, so I made a record a couple of years ago called Out of Dust. And I was putting together a group of background singers, and they're all like incredible artists in their own right. But, you know, for the purposes of the session, it's a background vocal group. And I had heard Michael on a project with Curtis Nawasad, a drummer who's Canadian but living in New York. And I was like, do you think he'd do it? And I asked him, and it was like his one day that he was free. Everything lined up. And then we were at the airport, ready to fly down to New York City, and our flight got canceled. And Joe Laurie was on the session, and she sprung to action and was like trying to find us alternate ways to get down there because the session was first thing the next day. And sadly, it was not to be. So Dennis Collins came in a couple days later because Michael was already busy again and filled in. And Dennis is amazing. Super amazing. But Michael, I hope someday that, you know,
I mean, if it could happen once, it can happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if it can almost happen once, it can maybe more than almost happen again.
Surely happen again. So we released that record March 27th, and Canada. So we've got the Junos here, which are like the Grammys of Canada, and I was just about to board a flight to Saskatoon, where the Junos are being held last year. And I got this notification that it's actually one of the producers at CBC called and said, don't get on that plane. And so we went into lockdown, and it was fairly immediate. Ben was out west touring with Natalie McMaster, this, you know. Great. Amazing fiddler, musician. And everything just came to a halt. And my record was scheduled to release on March 27th. So we had to totally regroup. I had people from my team, you know, saying, don't release it. Can you delay? But you all know how much time and effort it takes to set up an album. And once the train is on the tracks, you know, and it's heading for that station, it's like, I just felt there was enough inertia already that even with lockdown and this crazy pandemic, I wanted to see it through. So I did. And then from then on, it was like live stream concerts, live stream events like this, and this ever evolving new paradigm. And I'm so lucky that I married an engineer.
You are so lucky. And a drummer. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm so lucky and totally spoiled. But then the other day I was saying to Ben, because I've seen so many people like yourselves, you know, get equipped. And I thought, my gosh, you know, if Ben wasn't available for whatever reason, how would I do this? I would have no idea where to start. And it would be me and my iPhone. But anyway, so very lucky to have Ben in the mix. And then it just some really cool things came along, like Vocal Gumbo, and these unique opportunities to connect with people who actually these days, because we're in Toronto a lot of the time, I might not otherwise so easily connect with.
Right.
So I think that's the silver lining,
Yeah. So do you know Dylan and Suba?
I don't.
Dylan Bell and Suba Sankaran?
I do not.
Oh.
Who are Dylan and Suba?
They're a group called Free Play. They're more based out of are they out of Toronto?
I think they are.
Oh my gosh.
And they do a lot of really cool live looping, like you do, Michael. In that you just keep layering and layering, which I'll never forgive you your looping stacking for. I think what it was, Giant Steps or something like
Giant
that.
Steps.
Whoa.
I don't even want to talk to you about it.
My brain is still exploding from that.
I still like my head hurts when I'm thinking about it. But the thing that they do, which is really hip, if I'm hopping over to you, Michael, for a second, is like, what's in your mind as you're stacking, right? But as a duo, they have to work out the arrangement and layer in real time and really figure out what both voices are going to be adding as it keeps growing. And so it's another sort of extension to what is so awesome about this new sort of this art form. A lot of people do it, but I mean, people that do it really well. You in particular, Michael, it's just so cool to hear someone keep stacking, a bass line and then a solo and then the harmony and all the chords, and you're like, I'm gonna throw something at him in a second.
The funny thing, and the kind of like humanizing thing for me, humbling, I guess is the word I'm looking for, is when I started doing that Giant Steps arrangement. Actually, like literally the first maybe 7 or 8 times I ever performed it, I like had to start it over because I like messed up the second voice, and I was like up a half step and I didn't realize it until like halfway through the layer, and then I'm like, well, if this is messed up, the entire song's going to be messed up, so I have to start over. So there definitely are like looping growing pains, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we're going to introduce you to that couple, Ben and Laila.
Oh, please.
Amazing.
And Michael, you guys would love them. But before I would jump straight over to Michael, I want to also loop in Jane here, because Jane, I feel like I watched Jane like come onto the scene. Some of the things that we really enjoy is sharing these young artists. Michael's already like jettisoned and his star is over there. But I remember even 2 or 3 years ago when we were trying to get you for our Vocal Mania, and you were certainly known, but it's fun to see where you are now. But Jane, I feel like I knew her when she was at Manhattan School of Music, just working with Peter Eldridge, and I remember seeing her just as a young woman and going, that voice, what is up with that voice?
You're right.
So, and it's been so fun to watch you just turn into the remarkable artist that you are. So, and you've been doing great things, doing live concerts, duo concerts with a wonderful piano player in LA. And you're like, we're not sitting around, we're making records. Let's do this.
That's Max Hamer.
Max Hamer has been, he's my accompanist out here on the West Coast, and on the East Coast I work with Michael Kanan, who I've been with for like over 20 years. But yeah, I work with Max out here, and we've been doing these duo shows, and they've been really fun. Like we've got like this kind of nice following now that's with us every month, and it's paying the bills, and it's just been really, really a good time. And I also married a drummer, and I highly recommend it. But he wanted to do sound. So Ricky Montalbano, who you guys probably all know, my husband, he does all the sound for us. He does all the video, and yeah, so it's been really cool. Yeah.
It's homespun. We're learning how to make art in our living rooms, our kitchens, our basements, our bathrooms. And it's like, no apologies now. It's like, screw it. Let's just do it.
Absolutely. It's like we're all doing what we have to do to get through. And we're going to get to the end of this and have this huge amount of new skills to play with. And, when we find some kind of new normal, we're all going to be a heck of a lot more ready for whatever comes our way. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And also, Jane, you have a child, and so do you, Ben and Laila, right?
Yeah. I have a girl.
How's that going? How's that going for you?
Well, mine is a middle schooler and like a total tech nerd hermit type. So like being quarantined and like on computers all the time agrees with him. So he's okay, but you know, it must be harder with littler ones, I'm assuming. Got to be a lot harder. But
Yeah.
How old is Josh now?
Josh is 10 and he loves his screen. And we've had to beat back guilt over that, but we're like, you know what? It is what it is right now. He's on a screen right now, so we can do this. But he's doing great. And actually, just today, because he's doing virtual school, we're back into lockdown in Toronto or in Ontario. And we were just marveling that, like, we've never had this quantity of time together as a family. Never. You know, we were always all over creation. I'd be gone for weeks touring, and Ben would be off, and Josh would sometimes come with us. He'd sometimes stay home, and it was kind of chaotic. I mean, it was like blessed chaos. But now we actually get to enjoy being a family, and I think it's a gift.
it so is. I'm having the same exact experience. Like we're on a schedule now where we do like we have Sunday dinner, Italian dinner every Sunday, and, you know, things like that. And I'm helping my son with his homework every single night of, you know, it's nice to have that in exchange for everything else for a minute, you know.
Sure. And Jane, I have to say, I saw you as part of the Birdland show with Max.
That was so cool.
It was amazing. It was, and Catherine, you too. Yes. Amazing. And of course, you too, Janice, the old vintage Janice.
Yes. and look at them raising like over $400,000.
Oh my God!
I know, it's really great.
Their goal was $250,000, and the world said, "No, we're gonna rally for this," which you know kind of makes me. I wish we'd done that for like a jazz standard, and we had the forethought to go. We got to save them too, and we've got to, you know, because I think people do get it. And do get that we're trying to, you know, preserve something so that we have some place to go to once we were all out. I mean, I drive up and down these streets in Manhattan, and you know, there's a lot of closed up places. So that was very encouraging, and it gave me a little hope. So
that's funny. You know, our next show, February, Vocal Gumbo, is going to be a tribute to Birdland.
Oh,
and Gianni Valenti is going to co-host with us.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, everybody. I wish we could do it for Spike Wilner as well, for Mesro and Smalls.
We'll do it. We'll do anything. So, speaking of that, we don't care. We're going to do it. But Michael, tell us a little bit about, like, you know, what it's like for you, because it seems you can do a lot on your own. And so, are you creating on your own? Or are you still trying to connect with your community to make music? And what does gigging look like for, you know, in the pandemic world for you?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of all of the above. I think for me, you know, just like everybody else, the first couple months of quarantine were just like pure panic, right? But then, like, after a while, I sort of found my stride, and I creatively have been working on some new stuff, some solo stuff, but also I'm in a band called Shrek is Love, and all of our songs are about the movie Shrek. Yes.
Stop it.
Literally all of our songs are about Shrek. And so we have 2 EPs out, and they all live in LA. So it's been kind of rough to not get to. It's normally already rough because I'm here and they're there, but now even more so, obviously. So we've been doing this series called Shrek at Home, where someone will record a thing and send it to the next person who adds the thing, so on and so forth. And we've made like, I think maybe 8 or 9 of them now at this point. And so we're sort of like working towards a volume 3 EP. And it's been a really interesting year. I think when the whole pandemic started, I thought that I was going to feel very different by the end of the year than I did. I was very surprised at like how not all the way terrible I felt at the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it
me
definitely
too.
like I wasn't like chilling, but it wasn't, you know, it could be way worse, honestly. Like I'm definitely blessed to have the situation that I have and be able to do the things that I'm currently doing. So like,
Where are you right now? Like,
I'm
'cause
in
you're-
Brooklyn. Yeah, I've been in
you've
Brooklyn
got
the
a
whole
whole
time.
studio set up with lighting back there, and I feel like someone's going to come and pick up the guitar in a second and break into a tune. What's happening in there?
So, wait, you do have a song about Princess Fiona?
Yeah, it's called Fiona. Yep.
See, and you know, you probably wouldn't have made this record had we'd not fallen into this situation. Perhaps who knows?
Well, so those were actually from before, but
okay.
But I will say that the Shrek lore has definitely found new footing in this current situation.
I feel very connected to that because my best friend is married to Brian Darcy James, who played Shrek on Broadway. So
amazing.
I feel like I saw that happening because I just watched him like audition for the role and then get the job and then do the show. And my daughter, would go backstage and see him get his green paint on. So I feel like
that's awesome.
I feel really close to that show in a weird
cool.
sort of way. But I love that it's sort of biblical for you. And,
yeah,
it takes on those biblical, Harry Potter-esque, Star Wars.
There's definitely a large, honestly, and I didn't even really know how big the like online Shrek subculture was. It's actually ridiculous. Like, because I'm a fan. I'm not like super crazy mega fan. You would think that I am because I have a full band whose entire purpose is dedicated to the movie.
Exactly.
But like, I would say I'm just like a general casual fan of Shrek who's seen it, I don't know, 10, 15 times. But there's so many people who like live their lives based on the creed of Shrek. And you know what? That's our target audience. So I'm not complaining. You
gotta have a good direction. We love the direction that we got to do with you because yours was an original song, You Can, that we did together. And it's always fun to do original music on the show as well. And maybe what was I loved the message of the piece, even though I don't know what compelled you to write it. But for me to get to participate in the song was really joyful because I just felt like at that time when we were sort of midsummer, I feel like, and we're all kind of like, shit, this is just insane. And your message is like, we can do it. But what was really your backstory behind that?
Yeah. So up until like right around the time, like around that time that I wrote that, just going through the whole COVID quarantine thing, like you go through emotional cycles. Like there'll be cycles where I feel like really shitty, and then there'll be times where I feel like surprisingly inspired. And this was like the former. And so I was just feeling kind of bad, and not even about anything in particular. Sort of just that like low hum of like general anxiety and overall sadness. That old chestnut. What, this whole thing? And so around that time I was feeling that way, and then I took a lesson with Becca Stevens. I was like feeling really just like artistically for lack of a better word, constipated. Thank you very much. And I just would sit down and try to write and nothing would come, or it would feel bad, or like you play one note on the piano and you're like, this is the worst thing anyone's ever heard. And so I was like, I need some like newness in my life. And Becca is one of my favorite musicians. I've admired her for a long time, and I'm lucky to call her a friend now. So I just was like, can I sit you down and like tell me about your process? And she gave me a lot of really awesome things to think about. One of which was try to identify sort of the characters and the personifications within like your song, within the sort of the emotional landscape of your song, and ask them what they want instead of asking yourself what you want. Like take yourself out of the equation. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God. So mind was blown. And then right after that lesson, I actually taught a lesson to someone, and I went into this lesson. I was feeling so inspired, and I just like felt the wave of inspiration of like feeling like both validated and inspired and like reinvigorated, carrying that from that over into the next thing, and hopefully that person taking that energy with them into their next thing. And it sort of just like culminated in that song, this idea that like just because you feel bad, sad, insert negative self-adjective here doesn't mean that's all there is, doesn't mean that's the whole picture. And so sometimes you just have to get out of yourself enough to like get that bird's eye view. And that's what that song was sort of like speaking to, I think.
I think Janice and I, we were struggling to figure out, how do we play with Michael? Like, how do we get into this? You know, you sort of like when you're jump roping and you're like, do we go now? No, now.
Double Dutch.
Okay, you go. Yeah.
Double Dutch.
You go.
I mean, you guys absolutely destroyed it. When you guys sent me that first thing, I was like, oh my God. Because I truly was like, what's it going to sound like? And then you remember we had that whole kerfuffle with the stems?
Yeah.
I like, to this day, I don't know where they went. Like, all we have is a bounce, and I don't know where any of the stems were. So the fact that you guys made it, that is like incredible.
The one thing for me on the video of that was also an accident, in that I don't know what I'm doing half the time when I'm video editing. I just start playing with something that's up in the cursor, and I go, what does that do? Holy shit! I was like, oh my God.
That was incredible. When I saw that's the perfect thing for this song. It goes from black and white into color.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And so, and then you is just finally, it all just goes to color, and you just go, and I was like, I'd like to take responsibility for that, but it was like, again, one of those things like, what does this thing do? You know, totally. But that piece was inspiring. And also, Jane, I just want to go back to like Fun Life, because that was so hysterical to do with you, because that's a typical like Peter Eldridge tune where he's like, here's a stupid ass tune that you guys should totally do. And we're like, we'll do it. And
he's given me many of those over the 25 years.
He does. He comes up with like these funny, quirky chestnut tunes, and you go, this is absurd. And then you go, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it turned out to be Fred Landesman and Tommy Wolfe.
I know.
So, yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I found that out. I was amazed, and I never heard the tune, and I totally am in love with it now. And it was so much fun. And you guys know, I mean, I freaked out. I've lost my mind to get to sing with you guys, because I have been hero worshiping you both since I was a little kid.
Same.
So I've fully lost my entire mind that I got to do that with you, and like cried when I like watched the video. I'm not even kidding. I did. But yeah, that's how much it meant to me.
And Janet, you had the video idea.
Well, I thought it would be fun to do like a girl talk / 3-panel on the phone, gossiping thing.
Yeah.
With the tune, yeah. So that really worked out nicely.
And you reshot it. And I think what I just want to loop back, because I want to go to talk about other things with you guys, but I think I want to just say to our audience, in a way that like, we don't really know what we're doing. More than half of the time. But I mean, it's not rocket science to follow your gut and your heart and your craft, and be willing to make mistakes, and then be willing to recognize, the gifts and the people that you get to work with. And I think, this time has shown us that we have a really beautiful community that is willing to play and wants to connect. And so we're just grateful, honestly, that any one of you said, we'll come do something with us. Because who knew any of it was going to work out?
You were game.
So thank you for being game. And I think showing that we can be industrious even in these dark times at times. What do you guys do? Like, I don't know, Catherine, what do you do? Because I love Michael talking about, finding that theory that Becca offered about like looking for what the song wants as opposed to what you want. How do you find repertoire? Like, how do you pick your songs, or what's your muse that says this tune?
I will listen to, I'll put on like Louis Armstrong and just listen to an hour and a half of that, or Henry Red Allen, or I'll find like an old, blues singer from the 1920s and just listen to and then I'll hear a song, and maybe it'll just be like an assorted playlist or something while I'm washing dishes. And I like to put music on, and when I'm doing other stuff. and I'll hear a song and I'll say, wow, okay, what about that do I like? And then the song will haunt me. I'll dream about it. I will learn the lyrics. I'll wake up and it's in my head, and it's going to be with me until I learn it, and until I try it, and until I bring it to my, musicians that I work with, until I just absolutely learn it and see if it works for me. So that's how I find the repertoire. And so kind of on the same path as what Michael was saying, that the repertoire is kind of like when you adopt a pet, the pet adopts you. You don't adopt. So the song just says, okay. And it just kind of comes with me like a pair of pants or something until I break it in and learn it and see if it works, and try it in different keys and then I'm imagining an arrangement around it and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how it happens, and then I have different, when I'm recording, which I am going to do this year. My husband said, oh, why don't you wait? So I said, I'll be 100 years old if I wait. We don't know when it's going to be over. I'm going back in the studio. I don't know. I can't wait. So, because I try to do something every 2 years, every put something out every 2 years, 3 at the most. And so, and then I have different categories, so swing primarily, would be the old swing, good old swing tunes. And then I like a rhythm and blues tune or two from the 40s, 50s. Then I like something blues from the 20s, a la Bessie Smith era. That so that's kind of how, those are the elements, a few nice ballads, maybe one thing that's a little more harmonically complex, that the melody will go places you don't expect, so I like that too. So those are kind of the elements that I go from. But fun is primarily what I like. So.
Yeah. Kenny, how about you? Yeah. When do you know you found the song, and when's the song baked? Like when do you go, oh, I got it.
I'm primarily melody driven, so if I hear a good melody, that's what draws me. And if the lyrics fit, which 99.9% they do, because I like songs from the old school, and when everything was just written well, the music, the lyrics, but the melody definitely gets my attention first. I love beautiful melodies, whether it's up-tempo, medium, ballad.
Yeah. How did you feel when you first heard Verizona Moon?
Oh my goodness. I almost cried the first time I tried singing it. It's such a beautiful melody.
It feels like that for me, even when I think about your performance that you did for us. It feels like you're on the edge, and that's always like the fine line of being a good artist and communicator, where you can't go too far. It can't be maudlin.
Yeah,
you got to get us there, and we got to feel your heart. And I think all of you do that in your own way. Kenny, you do, and Jane, you wreck me. You know how to just caress and hold a lyric and that voice that just, you just sustains. And Laila, you're a composer as well.
I am. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'm first a piano player and second a singer. At least that's how I've seen myself my whole life, because I started at the piano when I was 3.5. But it was difficult transitioning from writing instrumental jazz and instrumental music to writing lyrics. And when you're from the same country as Joni Mitchell and Leonard Cohen, it's like, where do you go from there?
That's intimidating.
But Ben, as a co-producer and muse and co-writer, really, he's really helped coax me out of the box and help me wrestle my demons around songwriting. And I'm very much a work in progress and will be for my whole life. but he's helped me find the courage, to step out and give it a shot. And I'll never forget playing an event a few years ago, and I cover so many other people's music. That's used to be what I would primarily do. And then I started kind of sprinkling in my own songs, and not just instrumentals, but songs with lyrics. And somebody came up to me after and said, I really liked your tune Sparrow. And I thought, because it was, again, ensconced by like Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, Sarah McLachlan, Ron Sexsmith. And I just didn't feel worthy. But that person said, something changed when you sang your own tune. There was a direct connection to me. You were no longer interpreting someone else's song. And of course, we all know we're trying to inhabit those songs and make them our own, as you all do so beautifully. But for me, in this instance, something connected with that person that felt different to them. And I remember thinking, gosh, there's value in that. So I have to try to keep on keeping on as a songwriter, as hard as it is, because for me, it's so hard. I have friends who they poop songs, right? To put it crassly, they just come out. Yeah. But for me, it's tough. It's tough work.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Can I add something to that? Just something I've been thinking about. It's so interesting that you say that, because I've been talking to some fellow musician friends about this idea recently. Like, where does the self reside depending on what the song is? And if you're doing a standard that was written in 20s, 30s, 40s, whenever, like, clearly, oftentimes, like, the tenor or like the way that the words are written are not the way that you're going to actually speak now, but there's still a nugget of humanity in there. So the self, I think, can reside in finding that commonality, like finding, because we're like removed, right? But you want to find where you can sort of latch on. And I find with like original music, I'm curious about your guys' thoughts on this, that for me, it's like about removing myself more. Like one is about getting closer. The other one is about getting kind of farther away a little. Do you guys feel that?
I don't want to say pooped. I like that term, Laila, but I know what you mean. One song out of the last however many years I've been, I don't know how many years, came to me at 2:00 in the morning. Like I'd come home from a gig, reeking of cigarette smoke, the smoke when people could still smoke in clubs and all this. And the song just turned out to be about Satan. And it was, I don't know where it came from. And it didn't even feel like me. Like it didn't even, so I don't know if I was more removed, and just letting it come out. And I thought, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm writing it all down right now.
Yeah.
And it's, and then I recorded it and ended up recording it with different people. And they each had their own take on, so it started as kind of a Latin something or other. Then it went to Bernie Worrell of P-Funk, and he did his funk thing on it. And then it ended up on my second album with Larry Campbell producing it, and it turned into this kind of funk with a pedal steel on it, Wow. So I know I'm straying from what you just said, but I'm not sure. It's interesting. I'm not sure if I remove myself more from that process. It's interesting. I never thought about that.
That's fascinating. I mean, Lauren, you're a composer, really, at your heart. So how do you approach this?
Well, sometimes they pass through you like that. Sometimes they visit you, and you have to figure out what the visitation is and what your purpose is. Are you the narrator? Are you just the person writing down the story? Or are you the person? And every song has its own, a lot of times has its own origination for me. Sometimes it's just trying to work out something I read, something I saw in third person. So it's really different every time. But I do know the couple of times where they have literally passed through my window in a wind, through my body, and the song was written in 20 minutes with words, lyrics, and harmony. And those songs I can list on 5 fingers, and I know that they were otherworldly, and those are treasures, right? But then there's lots of really good workhorses too. Your workhorse songs are also wonderful to keep crafting. I love it all. And I think what I do is I leave the window wide open for any visitation possible and just try to honor it. Now, Jane, you're making a new record, and you felt like, because we're talking about picking repertoire, and you were like, I love this record because I feel like I just picked all these songs and they all feel like in the moment for me right now, and it just feels like really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an interpreter. I'm not a songwriter. I've written here and there, and I've written a bunch of lyrics for people and stuff, but I'm really not a songwriter. It's not what I do. I mean, I live in the Great American Songbook. It's my home, and I never want to leave it. You know what I mean? And I feel great about, carrying that history and stuff. So when I do pick the tunes, I do try to keep it very, very personal. You know what I mean? But this record is one where I stretched a little bit more and took on some tunes that were a little bit more of a challenge to interpret, just because I'm a little bit older now and I wanted to give that a shot. You know what I mean? So, it's like some mid-40s, energy. You know what I mean?
Like what tunes? What tunes?
Well, a couple that people will be like, why did you record that? Because it's been done by everybody 4 million times and you're probably not mature enough anyway. But I wanted to give it a shot. You know what I mean? So tunes like, I got My Funny Valentine on the album. I know everybody in the world is rolling their eyes, but it's a beautiful tune with the saddest lyric. And I really just wanted to take a crack at it and see if I could do something worthy with it, something special with it. You know what I mean? And so a lot of the record is choices like that, But yeah, I'm always trying to be as honest as I possibly can through the standards. You know what I mean? Otherwise, what's the point? Right.
Yeah, I think as an interpreter, you have to find your place in the song. You have to, and again, you have to even when interpreting, you have to ask yourself: am I the person this is happening to? Am I a third person? Third person? Am I telling the story? Who am I in this story? You have to be an actress, really.
Yeah.
And you have a role.
A lot of times I find myself singing from the experiences of people that are really, really close to me too. You know what I mean? Like I have a whole medley that I sing that is about my mother's experience. You know what I mean? Like a whole thing of songs that I put together that are about her, that are about what she goes through and lives through every day of her life, and her just as a woman, So
that's good stuff, though. That's great stuff to lean into. That's got all the emotional content you need to just go ahead and sing that now, and that gives you full permission to do it. When you give yourself that kind of purpose. Yeah,
and it's something I'm finding at my age now. You know what I mean? Because I have been doing this since I was very, very young, and I was singing tunes that I probably had no right to sing.
I think we all did.
We all did that, right? But
totally.
But I'm definitely enjoying being the age I'm at. In terms of having more to say, and just a little more like interpretive energy that's worth sharing. You know what I mean? That feels really good. Feels good.
Yeah, living through the lyric is just great. When every word in a song rings true for you.
Yeah.
And so you can just live through that thing. Every time you sing it is different because you're just living right through everything.
I mean, Janice, how many records have you made, Janice, in terms of solo wise?
Solo records, I would say maybe a close to a dozen. And I just did one of country songs just very, very sad country songs that tell a story, and with a jazz sensibility, I guess. But for me, it was an incredible journey. And the first question I ask is, who am I in this song?
Yeah.
Because
how drunk am I?
Huh?
and how much have I had to drink?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of those. There are definitely a couple of those. The album title is Crying in My Whiskey.
What?
There you go.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I can't wait. I'm dying. I just died. I'm sorry. I just
But
thought,
also, Janice did it down and dirty. Didn't you just go in and basically sing the record down in a day?
Yeah.
Like old school.
You know, we did it at T-Neck Sound, which is in Jersey, where there's a lot of isolation booths. So, Catherine, if you're thinking about a place, let me know.
Yes.
You know. And just had the whole band there, and everybody wore masks, and you know, I brought my own mic and pop filter and headphones, of course. But I mean, I love these country songs because they're story songs.
Yeah.
And they're deep, very universally emotional songs. I mean, they're songs about loss and you know, death and mourning and longing and, you know, just sadness. You know, that's what we sort of focused on.
I love classic country. I love classic country music.
I
Love
know.
it.
Well, you know, and that's really, you can lean into something like that today. We're living through a time that we're never, who knew this was going to happen and how it's gone along. And there's so much work to be done. As musicians, I think it's endless amount of work if we want to do it in terms of putting our hearts into the music and trying to be the teachers and trying to raise people up. And so I think I've needed it through this time. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have music to turn to in this really dire time.
Music and connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the first thing you're going to do and we'll wrap it up. What's the first thing you're going to do, everybody, when like we're out of jail, we're all done. We're always going to be wearing masks for a while probably, but like on your first gig, it's like, what's the first song you want to sing with your trio? And you're going to be like, I can't wait to sing this song with my band for a bunch of people that I can see are right in front of me. What is that? What's the song?
For me, it doesn't matter.
Any song.
For real.
Any song at all would be very special. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
I think it's going to have to be a pretty straight ahead song because I'm going to be so emotional. Do like odd time signatures. Just give me a straight up pocket.
Right. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to cry when I'm reunited with my partners. You know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So.
Yes.
I kind of just want to like get in a room with my band and like some people and have everybody like put different words in a hat. And then we turn on some cool lights and just like improvise. And anyone in the room can like do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Unless they are with the vid. But in this scenario, there is no such thing. There never was.
That's right.
Right. That's a great idea. And it's almost like, Michael, you're like, my first approach to performing is like, I need to first do it with my band, like in private. Like I need to first, it's almost like we need to come out of this post-traumatic syndrome in a way and gently put our toe in the water. Some of us want to get right on the stage. Maybe others need like, I just want to first be with my people, and let me feel it, the heartbeats again. I don't know. Jane, what about you?
Well, I did one gig with my trio here in Los Angeles. We like live streamed out of Vitello's, out of Feinstein's, and I cried my face off. I cried through the whole sound check. I couldn't function because, it's like the people we work with, they also end up being our closest friends. You know what I mean? They end up being our families, and my band out here is like that as much as my band in New York is like that. So I was crying like a baby, and I was not ashamed to, and in the gig too, I'd get to a ballad and boom, there I would go. And I didn't care because it was honest, and I probably laughed just as much. So that was good too. But yeah, that one gig, it felt like a dream. Like I remember it like through some sort of like veil. Like, did it really happen? Did I really see them and play songs out loud,
Yeah.
Was
Catherine,
that streamed? This was streamed, or were you singing for an audience, Jane?
It was live streamed. There was nobody in the crowd. Yeah. Us and a sound guy. That was it. But yeah, and I'm doing another one in March out of the Tellos. So I know I have this like date with my band coming up, and I can't wait. I'm gonna cry right now.
And that's February 12th. And everybody can probably find that information on your website, right?
Yeah, and I post everything on social.
Yeah, you're really good at that. You're really good at that. You know, we could talk forever, and I think for me, I just love hearing from all of you. But I want to just remind everybody that starting tomorrow night, we have 3 of the most voluptuous, guilty pleasure shows. We can't even deal with it. How excited we are. Janice, what do you want to tell everybody who's on Friday, and I'll tell everybody who's on Saturday?
Absolutely. Friday night, that's tomorrow night, we have Kate McGarry and Keith Gantz. We have 3 couples, actually. We have Tana Alexa and Antonio Sanchez. And also
Kenny Washington.
Kenny Washington in the house. A wonderful vocal group from Finland named Riotan. We have a vocal group from Brazil, Banda Jiboka. We have 2 wonderful singers from Japan, Kai Kitamura and Mika Shino. Samara Joy McClendon, who is from Purchase College. She's like incredible. A young singer, that's our young artist. Also, I'm doing a solo with Rini Rosny.
Yep.
Wonderful pianist. Lauren is doing a collaboration with an original tune with, now this is Sarah Sliffer Swift. Lauren,
Yep.
This is with the dancer.
And Martin Bejarano.
Martin Bejarano. We have Peter Carlson from the Real Group. And Tierney Sutton.
Woo!
Serge Mello.
Yeah, that's going to be ridiculous. So, but if that's not enough, and if that doesn't get you, that's the appetizer set. The entree set is on Saturday at 8 p.m. with Betty Buckley, queen of all queens, Raul Midon, who is doing a wonderful original song. Camille Berthaud is essentially our young artist, though really she's fully launched, and she's just young. She's just younger than us. Blur the lines, but she does a fabulous looping, layered her voice in Paris, France, in her windowsill. So how adorable is that? Catherine Russell, yes, queen. She's on. Peter Eldridge, my colleague in New York Voices, doing a hysterical romp about food and gluttony. Camila Meza, who is just a delicious songwriter, and she also does some great looping, Michael, in terms of layering her guitar and bass and her vocals, and she does it all in one, although this time we kind of messed around with it. But a beautiful piece of hers. Sage, which is, of course, the 4-woman dynamic team of Amanda Taylor and Janae Kendrick, Sarah Gazarek, and why am I just can't find
Aaron Bentledge.
Yes, Aaron Bentledge.
Aaron Bentledge.
My brain just went, but all of them are amazing. Pedro Aieco, from Brazil, Janice?
Yes, Brazil.
And he's ridiculous, playing guitar, and has a voice that goes up and down at least 3 or 4 octaves.
Yeah.
And our young artist is Shabnam Abedi. And I don't know if you're hip to her, but this woman has got the sort of Indian influenced Carnatic singing, and then she merges into Round Midnight, and it's a total schooling that we get. But on top of that, she just owns it in such a deep and profound way. So that's Saturday night. So
but there's more. There's you doing one of your originals, 2020 Vision, and Fred Hirsch and I.
Yes. So whatever, Fred
Hirsch. Yeah.
Just whatever. And my song's about women's rights and their right to their body. So whatever. Just an old tribal drum we've been beating for at least 1,000 years. But I tried to address it politely, but I'm never that polite.
And then Sunday is dessert. Sunday we have Sheila Jordan. We have Rhiannon. We have Rachel and Sarah Caswell. We have Michael Mayo.
Yes.
We have Jane Monheit.
Yes.
We have our young artist from Israel, Sivan Arbel. Dylan Bell and Suba Sankaran. Free play. We have Laila, Biali, and Ben Wittman. What?
Yes, we do.
I'm singing with a fantastic, crazy man from Spain named Santi Ibarrechi. And Lauren is doing, Lauren, you're doing another original.
Why not?
Good is coming.
Good is coming with Tim Lefebvre on bass, who's monstrous.
Yeah, Tim.
And then as we were finishing, I was like, Andy Ezrin, would you throw a little B3 organ on it just to give it some grease? And so we had some fun. And also, I don't think we mentioned
Reggie Bowen.
A great arrangement of his Ooh Child that I think didn't they win on the Sing Off or something with that tune?
I think so. Or
did well on that. So the shows are great. There you have. And if you attend all 3 shows, guess what you get? You get one of these, not the masks that we're wearing, but you get, what's the mask that they get? They get they get that mask.
They get a new logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's masks to be given away for all 3, just in case. And the cool thing is if you can't watch it at the time that we show it, you have 24 hours, I guess, from the point at which the show was aired to watch it at your leisure. So, we're figuring these things out as we go. And we're hoping that making all these things convenient. And the shows are $15 each. So I don't know how else to tell you about that, except it's very affordable. Janice. And then one final thing. So I want to wet everybody's whistle to know that, like, we're celebrating Vocal Gumbo, Janice.
Yes.
And all of our guests here. And then we are getting ready for Birdland, which will be featuring Karen Allison, Alicia Olatuja, Ann Hampton Calloway, Darius DeHaas, Veronica Swift and Emmett Cohen, Jim Caruso and Billy Stritch, and a collaboration with the Manhattan Transfer, New York Voices, and the most amazing tap dancer, Ayadele Cassell.
Yeah, Ayadele Cassell.
She's extraordinary.
Yeah, she's really something else.
So that we're going to be raising money for that show. So we're trying, and we are grateful to have played with all of you guys. We hope everybody tunes into the shows. Send us the word that you want us to continue this madcap thing, because otherwise we'll be sad.
Right. Okay, Ben and Laila, what are you drinking? Come on.
Oh my gosh. Well, mine is done. This is going to be the most boring answer, I think, tonight. We're having Zevia. Have you heard of Zevia? It's stevia sweetened pop.
That's awful. That's just awful.
Are we banned from the show now?
Oh God, I don't know what to say about that.
It's ginger ale though. It's good.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That good. That was pretty good.
If anybody, I know for me personally, after my car died on the side of the road today, I'm grateful for Janice's Malbec. It has warmed the insides of my body, and I now can drive home tonight so that we can get ready for tomorrow's show. We won't have to have masks on. But thank you for supporting us, each and every one of you.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for being you, because you inspired, ever loving. You are pure inspiration. And so thank you. And thank you to Lori Green, who pulls all the levers up there and makes all of it happen.
Thank you, Lori.
So are we going to end with Michael's tune?
No, we're ending with Catherine Russell.
Catherine's tune, okay.
But I think we can, I don't care, we can end with Michael's tune too.
All right.
Catherine Russell is doing a fundraiser, which is why we thought we might throw some sunshine on it, but we're going to put
All right.
Michael's single up on our Facebook feed right now or soon thereafter. The show comes down. But Catherine, you want to tell us a little story about that, because we can do a little business for helping our community.
Okay, well, this was actually from my second album that I recorded up at the barn at Levon Helms Studios in Woodstock. And Larry Campbell produced it. It was a track that didn't make the album, but it's an old tune written by Alberta Hunter. That was blues singer Alberta Hunter, that was used in a film maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, even or more, something like that. And you got to reap just what you sow. So it's Larry on guitar,
Oh my
and
God.
Howard Johnson, our beloved Howard Johnson, who's just left us. And I'm singing and playing a little bit of rhythm mandolin. So because I love string band instruments, so we just decided to kind of do it like that. So it's a little bit of kind of old school New Orleans flavored, and the charity is the Jazz Foundation of America. So whatever proceeds we make, we give it right to the Jazz Foundation of America to help musicians. It's the COVID-19 fund.
And Janice, can you just mention also the two women that we also want to remember today too?
We are sad to recognize the transition of Janet Lawson and Carol Fredette. Two wonderful singers in our community who have passed on in the past week.
Yes. So remembering people and honoring our community. So Catherine, thank you so much for singing us off the show with "You Reap What You Sow."
Ain't that the truth?
Yes, ma'am. Love you all.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you.
Let's see if it'll play.
It's going to play.
Okay.
It's going to play.
Oh, yeah, it's going to play.
Well, maybe. Beep, but it.
Oh, well. In any case, you can find it in any case.
Yeah. All right. You saw a picture of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll say, everybody, sorry we didn't get to see that, but maybe we're going. Maybe we're trying again.
Here we go. If at first you don't succeed,
Try again.
Yeah, I wish I could help you, but I can't.
Oh,
Here we go.
yes.
You can't boast about your riches. You every wish someone's a man. You can go around cheating people on some trickery or plan. You can't tell lies on your neighbor, thinking no one will ever know. But as sure as you are living, you've got to reap just what you sow. You've got to reap just what you sow. Yes, you've got to reap just what you sow. On the mountain, in the valley, you've got to reap just what you sow. Yes, you can inconvenience others to make things easy for yourself. You can steal some poor man's idea and accumulate greater wealth. But here's one thing that's gonna happen. It's been tried and proven before. All the wrong that you are doing, you've got to reap just what you sow. You've got to reap just what you sow. Yes, you've got to reap just what you sow. On the mountain, in the valley, you've got to reap just what you sow. Yeah.
You can take every advantage of a fellow man that's down. You can take somebody's heartstrings and drag them on the ground. You can hide other people just because you're having luck. Even double cross your best friend and then try to pass the buck. But here's one thing that's gonna happen. Makes no difference where you go. Just before your final curtain, you've got to reap just what you sow. You've got to reap just what you sow. Yes, you've got to reap just what you sow. On the mountain, oh, in the valley, you've got to reap just what you sow. Yes, you've got to reap just what you sow. Well, you've got to reap just what you sow. On the mountain, oh, in the valley, you've got to reap just what you sow.
Woo! Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Bless you, Howard Johnson on tuba.
yes.
Lord.
That was swinging.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
Woo, Catherine.
And you played the mandolin?
I did.
Get out of here.
That is great. Well, people, if that ain't enough for you, I don't know. But that's just getting us started. We're so excited that these folks are going to be tuning in and on our show this weekend. Get your tickets, Vocal Gumbo, momenthouse.com/Vocal Gumbo. And you get your free mask if you watch all three. And who knows? Oh, and join our Patreon page. There's lots of behind the scenes things. You can have Janice show you how to cook something. I'm going to cook something with my mom. So let's just give
Oh,
it
wow.
that.
That's great.
It's going to be, I don't even know.
Oh, that's going to be great.
So, but we do lots of things behind the scenes for our Patreon people. So feel free to join our community. And once again, thank you to Michael Mayo, Catherine Russell, Kenny Washington, Laila Biali, Ben Wittman, and Jane Monheit. We adore you. Big time, big time. And we'll see y'all on the next bandstand.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
ladies. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
So
Thank
much
you.
love.
Hey, well,
Cheers.
Calling all around the world. Mumbo jumbo, stir up the gumbo. Calling all around the world. Get it. Start with a roux, that's me and you. Add the Holy Trinity. That's rhythm, chords, and melody. Come on now, add your spice. Tell your story, very nice. Calling all around the world. Stir that vocal gumbo now. Calling all around the world. Get it.